Hello and welcome. In this video we are going to build a crypto live trading bot with Python. To better understand the coding, I will go through how it is working before so that you can better follow along. So first of all, we are pulling 15-minute granular price data using the Binance API. With this price data, we are going to calculate technical indicators, namely the simple moving average and Stochastic RSI K-line. Once we are getting a buying signal based on those indicators, we are placing a buy limit order, 97% of the current price. We are selling the coin if the next close price is above the buy price or if 10 time steps, so 150 minutes, have passed. There are two main obstacles with that. We need some information on the buy limit order to extract if it was going through or still pending, and also for the time step evaluation at what time it was going through. Also, by taking a percentage of a current price, we are ending up with different decimals. So as an example, a price of 1521.20 will end up with 3 decimals. Also, we need to make sure that we are only passing a tradable lot size to our buy limit order. I've already covered that in a previous video, but we'll quickly go over that again. I recommend to check out some prerequisites to better follow along. So in specific, the price quantity lot size calculation in my Pullback video, the previous video where I explained and backtested this strategy. Also, it doesn't hurt to check out some videos covering the Python Binance library. I will link everything you need in the video description, but if you have any questions, as always, feel free to use the comments. Important disclaimer: cryptocurrency and in specific automated trading is bearing a huge amount of risk and may result in a total loss of your invested capital. Cryptocurrencies are not regulated and the Python Binance API wrapper is not official. Even more important disclaimer: I'm only providing you ideas and show you the technical implementation. You need to do your own research, assess and manage the risk based on your own risk profile and make proper adjustments. Please just see these videos as projects and don't blindly follow my scripts. Alright, let's get started. First of all, I'm going to run another notebook containing my API key and my API secret. You don't have to do that, I'm doing that for data protection reasons. Just make sure you have defined your API key and your API secret in your current environment. Next, we need some libraries: pandas for data handling, TA to calculate technical indicators. From Binance, we need the client. From datetime, we need time delta that enables us to add or subtract a certain amount of time from a given timestamp. We need time, and I'm also instantiating the client, providing my API key and my API secret. Next, I'm defining the symbol which we want to trade, simply taking ETH here as an example, and then pull price data. I'm doing that with a function which I've used in many of my previous videos, so I will just copy paste it from my other screen, but I will go through that with you together once again. So this function getData is pulling K-line or candlestick or open high low close data for a given symbol for the 15-minute time frame, and is going back 3k minutes. Why 3k? Because I need 3k minutes to calculate the simple moving average over 200 time steps. So simple calculation, 200 times 15, 3k minutes here, right? So what is this function doing? It is pulling K-line data for the 15-minute time interval, going 3k minutes back, and is wrapping that into a data frame. Then it's doing some slicing to just the columns we need, so time, open, high, low, close. And then is setting the index of that data frame to time and is transforming the currently Unix formatted timestamp into a human readable timestamp. In the end, all other columns, so open, high, low, close, are transformed to floating values so that we can calculate with them. Okay, so let me just show you how this function is working. So if we are calling that on our symbol, which is ETH, we are getting a data frame like this containing open, high, low, close columns, an index time containing 15-minute granular price data, and as you see, 200 rows here. All right, so let's store that somewhere. Let's just store that in a variable df. And now we want to calculate our technical indicators and also add a column containing a true value if our conditions are met and a false if they aren't. So I'm simply calling that function indicators, taking a data frame as an argument, then adding a column SMA 200, use the TA library, take the trend functions and access the SMA indicator on the close column with a window of 200. Also similar logic for the Stochastic RSI K-line, using TA, momentum, stock, RSI K on the close with a window of 10. This will create some NAN values. To be more specific, this will, for the 200-day simple moving average, all values except the last row will be NAN values. Okay, so I'm going to drop them off here. So I'm just taking df, drop NA, and in place. And with that, I'm dropping every row except the last row containing the simple moving average calculated over 200 time steps. In the end, I'm adding a buy column to that and check for both conditions. So close should be above the 200 time step moving average, and also the Stochastic RSI K-line should be below 0.05. And I want to have the data frame back. So if I'm calling that on my current data frame, you see I'm getting one row containing the most recent time interval here, so 4:15, and as you see, the initial frame columns and also the simple moving average, Stochastic RSI K, and my buy column containing a false value, because even though the close is above the simple moving average, so the Stochastic RSI value is not below 0.05. But this will be the row we are considering when buying or selling the asset. Next, we need to fill a buy limit order. And to fill a buy limit order, you need to provide a price and a quantity. All right. And I'm using helper functions, which I've used in my pullback video, where I've explained all the functions line by line, right? So I'm not going that much into details here, and I'm going to copy paste them from my other screen. I will quickly go over them, but I highly recommend to check them out once again. So these were the helper functions. We have price calculation, we have quantity calculation, and the right rounding. And the price calculation was simply providing a price times the limit rounded by the decimal length of the price. Okay, so let me give you an example. So let's execute that. And if I would provide our symbol, so ETH, and I'm just taking the 97%. This function provides me the ETH price times 0.97 rounded by the ETH decimals, which are just 2 decimals. All right. So if I'm just pulling the price of ETH, you will see this is the current price. If I'm taking that times 97 here, you see that I'm getting this amount of decimals. If I'm taking the function, it will be rounded properly, right? So these differ because this is real-time data here, right? Just in case you were wondering. So every time I'm calling this function, I'm getting new data from the API. So, okay, this is the price calculation. And we need this price calculation for the quantity calculation, because the quantity calculation is holding the necessary lot size for a given symbol. So there are different permitted lot sizes to trade for different symbols, right? So for example, you can, let's take Ripple. Ripple is a good example. You can only trade 1 Ripple. You cannot trade 0.5 Ripple, okay? So this is taken care of, that you take the right quantity. So if I would take, so I'm calling the function on ETH, and I would want to invest $100 here, right? So 100, and as you see, I'm pulling the lot size for ETH, and then I'm pulling the price using my price calc function, as I need to have the price times the limit and round it properly. This is the price calc function doing, right? And then I'm rounding the investment, so $100 divided by the price. And this, I will come to this in some seconds. This will round the quantity properly using the right lot size. Okay, so if I'm taking that for ETH, you will see that I'm getting this number, right? So what does this mean? For $100, I can buy 0.0649 ETH, considering I'm placing a buy limit order 97% of the current price. Okay, so this is the quantity I would need to pass to my buy limit order. Okay, so once again, I'm going to show you that for Ripple, because Ripple has a lot size of only 1. If I'm doing that, you will see that I'm only getting 284 here, right? So you can ignore that. The API will understand that this is a full number. Okay. So, okay, what is the right rounding function doing once again? Because it is called here on the lot size, right? So there are different lot sizes. So let's say we have a lot size of 1, then we want to have a 0 back here, as we want to round the quantity to 0 decimals, right? So a lot size of 1 will end with a 0, and that is why for Ripple, for example, we are not getting decimals. But there could be lot sizes of, let's say, 001. And if I'm taking 001 here, this will provide me the amount of decimals. So this is what the right rounding function is doing. So that you are rounding the division of investment by price with the right decimals. And again, this is pulling lot size from here. This is being passed to this function, and then you have the right quantity. Works on every single coin. And yeah, this is quite a struggle. I know that, but it is working, and it is a bulletproof way to post buy limit orders, right? So again, check out the Pullback, trading bot video where I've explained that in more detail. But I hope this is a good recap for those helper functions, right? So to summarize, we need that to fill in our buy limit order. Okay. Next, we need to define 2 functions. First one is the buy function, and this is taking a certain investment amount. And here we are defining our order, use the client, and take a limit buy, as we want to place a buy limit order. Taking the symbol as our symbol, the price as, and now we are taking the price calc of our symbol, and the quantity as quantity calc of our symbol, and providing the investment. So we are actually using our helper functions here. When we are calling this function and place a buy limit order, we also want to have a feedback. So want to have the order printed out, getting some information on that order. I also want to change our current position value, and I've not defined that yet, but I will define that in the next cell here. So I will set up a position dictionary containing in position as a true value when this function is called. So when we are placing a buy, we want to set our current in position to true. We will need that later. So I'm going to do that in position equals true. So this is simply posting to a dictionary that we are currently in a position. I also want to return the order. We need order information to extract some information. So for instance, is the order still pending or is it going through? We will come to that later. But anyhow, this function, whenever you are calling this function, you are placing a buy limit order, providing a certain investment amount, and then you are getting the order printed out, the position value changed to true, and also you're getting the order returned from this function. Similar logic for a sell. This is only taking a quantity. And now for the selling order, we are just taking a market order, right? So we are creating an order, take symbol as symbol. The side is sell, type is a market order. The quantity is the provided quantity to this function. We will come to what exactly we have to post here later. And whenever I'm placing a sell order, I want to print that out and set my position dictionary value to false, as we are not in a position anymore once we have sold the asset. Okay, so these are other helper functions. As said, placing the buy limit order, setting the dictionary value to true, returning the order as we need it later, and selling is just placing a market order here and setting the dictionary value to false. Okay. Next, as I promised, we have to set up the position dictionary. Should have done that in the beginning. Just forgot that. So in position equals false in the very beginning. So the initial position is a false value, right? We didn't do any trades yet. But it doesn't matter to define the position dictionary here, because it is only changed when these functions are called, and they will called later. So you can define that wherever you like. I'm defining it here. Next one is our buy check. So when do we want to buy? Calling that check buy and provide an investment amount as an argument. And now we're checking the position dictionary. If the position dictionary in position value is true, and if the buy value in our data frame is true, this function should return a true value. If that's not the case, we want to get a feedback that we are already in a position. So this check buy is doing basically two things. It is accessing the position dictionary and checks if we're in a position, and it's also checking the data frame, so this row here, if there is a true value in this column, in this buy column. All right, nothing more than that. So if that is the case, if there is a buy value, this function is returning true. And else it is returning nothing. So it is just returning a non-value. Now we're getting to the check sell function. And this is taking an order. And now it's getting quite tricky. So when you are placing a buy limit order, you have to extract some information. So let me quickly show you how a buy limit order is looking like. Let's just place a buy limit order. So let's just if, and let's just invest $10 here. And actually set the parentheses right. And now let's take a look at that order. Now you see that this order has a status new. There's also a status filled when this order is going through. And this order, you can get more information on that order, right? And you can do that by using client get order and then just access the order ID here. So order, client get order for our ETH, and then take the order ID as order, and then order ID. Now you see that you're getting more information on the current buy limit order. So the relevant information for us is the status. So we see that this is a new status and not a filled status. So this order is still pending. We also see that we have a time and an update time here. So these are Unix timestamps. And the update time is currently the exact same time as the time because nothing happened to that order yet. Okay? So when this order is going through, the update time will change, but the time won't. Okay? So this is important for the next function, right? Okay, so this is the dictionary we will work with, right? I hope I could make this clear. So let's get rid of that and do the cell check here. Okay, so this is taking a certain order and then it's checking the order status by the syntax I was using. Get order for our symbol, and then order ID equals the order ID from our order. And now it is checking, so it's pulling the order status, and now first of all it's checking if we are in a position. And if we are in a position, we want to check the status of the order and check if that's still new. And if that's still new, we want to print the buy limit order is still pending. But if the order status is filled, we want to check two things. First, so I'm going to call that condition 1, is the current close above the buy price. So I'm extracting that from the order status, just screening for the price. Second, and this is the more complicated check, is my current time larger or equal to the update time of the order plus 150 minutes. So I'm checking PD to date time. Now this is providing me a current timestamp. Is that larger or equal to PD to date time of the order status update time plus 150 minutes. These are my two conditions from the very beginning, right? So we are checking if condition 1 or condition 2 I want to sell. So I'm simply calling my sell function here. And what quantity do I have to pass? I'm passing the quantity from the order status. Okay? Okay. Now when we are not in a position, we want to just give a feedback here. So currently Currently not in position. No checks for selling. All right, so this is the sell check. And with that, we have everything we need. So let's define an investment amount and an endless loop here. And here we are pulling price data and do the indicator calculation. So we are simply calling the indicators function on get data for symbol. So this is simply the row you know from the very beginning, this one here. Okay. And now we are checking if check buy of the investment. And if check buy is returning a true value, we want to define a current order as, and then we are simply calling the buy function on our investment. So as you remember, the buy function, whenever it is called, is returning our order, our current order, right? Which we then pass to our check sell function to check if it's still new, so if it's still pending or if it's filled, and then doing the checks here, right? So if we are getting a true value here, and let's go through the cases. When are we getting a true value here? We are only getting a true value here if we are not in a position. And also if the buy column contains a true value, then this function is returning true. Otherwise, it is returning nothing, so this line is not being considered. So it cannot happen that we have a current order which is being checked by the check sell function, which is being overwritten. Because whenever we are in a position, we write that into our position dictionary. Okay, so this is something which can never happen here. And this is important that this is never happening. So next, when we have a current order, we are passing this current order to our check sell function here, right? But now imagine you don't have an initial order, right? You don't have the conditions fulfilled. So you didn't get a buying signal yet. So you don't have a current order in the very beginning. So to avoid error messages, I'm simply working with a try and except blocked here. So I'm calling the check sell function on the current order, but this is running into an error when the current order is not defined yet, right? So I'm avoiding this error and just print out not an order yet. Okay. And after we have defined everything what should happen on a frequent base, we are defining a sleeper here. And what would make the most sense is letting this loop run every 15 minutes here, right? So for presentation purposes, I'm just taking 60 seconds here. Okay, and that's everything. So again, you're pulling the indicator calculation and price data to check if you have a buy condition fulfilled or the buy condition is fulfilled. And then you're checking if you're in a position or not. This is what this function is taking care of. And if you're not in a position and you are getting a buy value as true, you are defining a current order, which is being then checked by the check sell function, right? And we were going through that check sell function together. So this being executed endlessly here, right? So if we're executing that, we're getting not an order yet, as most probably the buy value here is still false, right? But when it is true, the order is being executed and is passed to our check sell function with the status of the order. All right. Finally, let me comment on what I would do different when deploying this bot. First of all, technically, I would work with a cron job instead of a while loop. There have to be some amendments to the script so that it is actually working. I have videos on how to design bots with Cronjobs. Be kindly invited to check them out. But anyhow, when you are working with a cron job, you have to store some information externally. So let's say in a CSV file or in a database if you want. So in our case, you have to store the position externally, but also the order information externally, right? So this is something you have to amend. And I would amend if I would run this, let's say not in the long term, but in the midterm. So if you're interested in running the script in the midterm, and if you're also interested in the outcome of that, let me know, of course. And secondly, so what I would do different when deploying this bot is, so from the trading logic itself, I would do some stuff differently because I don't really see the point in doing them as they currently are. So for instance, those conditions, close values are larger than the buy price. I would just work with the target profit here. So I want to exit when I made at least X profit, right? And also, instead of waiting 10 time steps, I would rather work with a stop loss here, right? So this is what I would do differently when I deployed this bot. Anyhow, thanks a lot for watching. I know this was quite intense, but I hope you could extract some value out of that. It was interesting, informative, and I'm looking forward to see you in the upcoming videos. Bye bye.